Buyers are looking for a bargain.
Yeah.
Sellers, on the other hand, don't want to let go, but some don't have a choice. So we do have first-time home buyers.
So welcome to Proudly Dufferin, Amrita. This is our very first show and you are our very first guest. To begin with, can you tell us who you are and what you do?
Yep. Firstly, I want to say thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'm very happy to be part of this. I'm Amrita Bhogal. I'm a licensed mortgage broker. I've been in the industry for over 5 years. And just a bit about myself and my background. I'm born and brought up in Kenya, Africa. And then I did my higher education in England. And we moved to Canada about over 20 years ago. But because my background is finance and, when you're fresh out of university, we were more career oriented. So, just up in the corporate world and how to grow in corporate. And for 20 of those years, 15 I was in corporate. I worked with a company called Just Energy. Then I worked with Loblaw and then with TD. And that's when I ventured out into this line of business. And really, if you ask me why, what made you make this decision?
Yeah, what made you?
So honestly, because back in Kenya, my parents, our family, we all owned our own businesses. However, when I finished university, it just seemed to be the norm that you're out of university, you join corporate and you keep growing up the hierarchy. But then as we grew as a family, my kids were growing, it just felt so monotonous to be 9 to 5. It was like a rat race.
Yeah.
And at that point, it hit me that I really, really want to do something of my own. But why mortgages then?
Yeah, why mortgages?
Yeah, back again, it all comes back to my childhood and how we were brought up. My parents dealt in real estate, buying, selling. And then when we bought our first home, I felt there was a gap. Gap in the sense that yes, you're getting a mortgage, but there was lack of knowledge. You're just told, okay, this is your mortgage, but no one really goes into depth to explain to you why you're choosing this product or why this product is right for you.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's what really, really resonated with me. Even now, today, really, Priya, what is my success is my transparency. It's me being very transparent and always working the best interest of the client. Today, he or she might not like what they're hearing,
Yeah.
but it's the right thing for them.
That's right, yeah. And I always tell the clients that the reason you have us as your professional realtor or mortgage agent is because our job is to tell you what you don't want to hear.
Yep.
But you need to know that thing.
You'd rather know it today
Yeah.
than tomorrow when you've already made the decision and thinking, why didn't I do this or why didn't I think otherwise?
And then you'll have buyer's remorse.
Yeah, and remember, we're all here for the long run. I always think our journey is here for the long run, not, let me see what I can pocket today.
Of course.
But no, it's what's right for you. Today I might say to you, Priya, I don't think it's right for your client to refinance. But why? When he or she or the bank or this person is telling me it's the right thing. But my answer doesn't stop there. They don't do it. I want you to understand why you should or why you shouldn't do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think that is my success, is just being very informative, letting clients make informative decisions. And that's been my success.
Beautiful. So yeah, it's the why that always matters.
Yes.
And it's not the same thing. It's not a one size fit all.
It's not.
Everybody's situation is different and what they should or should not do is going to be different as well.
Yeah, so that's how the journey started, It wasn't an easy start, I'm not going to lie, because when it comes, the difference between real estate and mortgage, yes, we're linked, we're very directly linked.
Yeah.
But there's a very fine line. When it comes to mortgages, family, friends, sometimes are not comfortable sharing their financial situation or sharing their finances. And so that is something I learned the hard way. Sometimes you think, why isn't he or she, why isn't family, friends giving me business?
Yeah.
But then you do understand and you appreciate it why they don't. Some are not comfortable, and that's perfectly okay.
Yeah.
That's perfectly okay. But Again, it took time for me to realize that.
That's right.
Because when you're starting off, Priya, I'll just take a step back. When I gave up my job in corporate, a lot of people told me, "Are you sure? You're doing so well. You're making a good salary. Your husband's settled. You have kids. You have young kids. Do you really want to be taking this risk now?" But at that point, I said to myself, if I'm going to do this, I'm not doing this to go back to a corporate, because a lot of people
Yes.
told me, "It's okay if it doesn't work. It's not like you're leaving on bad terms. You can always come back. You have contacts." But I had told myself, I'm not doing this to go back to it. I'm doing this to make it work.
It's a commitment.
It was a commitment, and the bills had to be paid.
Yeah.
So it had to work. And that's what really, really pushed me. And that's why I learned this the hard way, because I thought, okay, it's okay. I know so many people. But believe it or not, all the people I knew were not the people I got the business from.
No, of course not.
It's
Yeah,
not.
and I can relate to it.
Yeah, I'm sure you can,
Yeah.
right?
Because they know the other side of you. They know you've just started in the business. They don't know what your values are. So it takes time for people to know what your values are and whether they connect with you on a professional level
Yep.
and a personal level. And only then they come to you. They have to have that trust in you.
Exactly.
So
It was a real hustle.
yeah. So what I'm hearing is it's the trust and the transparency
Yes.
that your clients like about you.
Trust, transparency, and I'll say one more thing. If you ask, and I'm sure to an extent you can relate to this, communication.
Yeah. That's a
I
big.
think this is big because there's lack of communication. You look at the end of it, put yourself in a first-time home buyer shoes. He's put an offer, she's put an offer. They want to know what's happening. There's anxiety. Maybe they put a condition of finance. Maybe they haven't. Amrita, what's happening? You can't just ghost your clients. You've got to, even if it's taking longer, be honest why it's taking longer. Don't keep them in the dark. Even with my referral realtors, I think it's my duty, and I take it upon myself to keep them in the loop. The client qualifies. It's between you two. Any questions you need me to run, any scenarios, feel free to call me. Communication is very key. So,
And communication is also very important, because if your client doesn't know what's happening, they think that you're not working.
yeah.
So it's important for them to know.
And I'm very honest with them that even if I feel that, I'll give you an example. I had a client who came, who saw me yesterday. Very successful, but in all fortunate, she's been on back-to-back mat leaves. So 2023, 2024, she went partial 6 months and then went back.
Yeah.
So now when we're looking for history, we don't have that. So I said, look, we can try. And the reason I'm trying is because I think it can work because of this reason. But I want you to know there is a chance that it might not go through.
Yeah.
So this is what I mean. Transparency is very important. Rather than me give you false hope, oh, don't worry, it will happen. You have nothing to worry. And then guess what? 4 days later, I'm telling you, guess what? It doesn't work because of this.
Do you have any stories, like, don't take any names, but do you have any stories for clients who have been with you and you told them, but then they went with somebody else, did the otherwise, and then came back and say you were right?
A lot. I'll give you a very good example. I had two very good friends who were both in the trucking business. They both each bought a home in Caledon. This was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And they were close to 2 million, both each. They came to me, very strong clients, a lot of liquidity, but their income, they were self-employed, they declared very small income on their tax returns.
Yeah.
However, if I looked at their gross income based on their business bank statements, the income was very high. I was very clear with them. Look, if you're trying to tell me that you want to only go to a Schedule A bank like one of our TD, Scotia, RBCs and all, I said it's not possible. With the amount of income you're declaring, even if you're putting 30% down, it's not enough.
Yeah.
Okay? But I did tell them there is a program for you. There is a program for clients like yourself who make a lot of money but are declaring very little.
Yeah.
But again, look, there's pros and cons to everything. The rate is slightly higher for those products. Oh no, I don't want to pay that. That's okay. Now, you know what? I said, look, I'm giving you honest advice. This was in July.
And he'd bought the house already?
It was a pre-construction.
Okay.
He came back to me in September. They still hadn't closed. He goes, Amrita, it doesn't work. I said, I told you. I said, there's a lot of people misleading you, or might say, you know what?
Yeah.
Sorry to say, there's a lot of fraudulent stuff happening in the market. I said, it's not worth it. You're saving on income tax. So what if you're paying slightly higher interest? You can have a good night's sleep. You're getting it the right way. Do it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's your choice to...
I said, this is a choice you're making.
Yeah.
Why are you putting yourself at risk of getting caught? But again, you can only say so much. And it's up to the client at the end of it. They still came back and we did it. So a lot of times, again, there are clients at times who say, guess what? People are doing it in the market and they're able to do it, and you say, that's fine, carry on. But my duty is always just to educate them and let them make their decision.
That's right. Yeah. So what is one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time home buyer in today's market?
Yeah. No, thank you so much for asking. This is an important question.
Yeah.
One thing I would always say is, firstly, do your due diligence. When I say you do your due diligence, there's a misconception that I can directly go to the bank rather than go to a broker because a broker will charge me.
Yeah.
That is not true. That is not true. The difference between the bank and a broker, we are your one-stop shop. We will understand your situation and give you the product that fits you best.
That's right.
Now, you going directly to a bank, first you'll visit A, then you'll visit B, then you'll visit C, then you'll visit D. It's your time. It's everything. So I always say, and I'm not saying that don't go directly to the bank, but I am saying do your due diligence.
And the bank is only trying to sell you their product.
The bank can only sell you what's in their best interest. Remember, as brokers, we don't have a TD logo, or we don't have a Scotia logo, or we don't have any bank's logo. We are our own brand. So we work in the best interest of the client, not necessarily always the bank. It's what's right for you. So I always say do your due diligence. Whether you're working with, if you choose to work with the bank, that's okay. Or with the broker, do your due diligence. And the biggest advice I will say, before you go out, like somebody comes to you, Priya, the house I really want is in the 800,000 range.
Yeah.
But do you qualify for it? You don't, even if you don't want to get a pre-approval done, get your pre-qualification done.
That's right.
Speak to a broker, speak to them. This is my income. This is how much down payment I have. How much do I qualify for? That doesn't require a credit check. That doesn't require anything. It's just having a conversation to understand where you are. At least it gives you a starting point.
That's right.
Rather than go blindly and say, this is what I want, I'll figure it out later. Yeah, there are people who do it. But in today's times, look, the struggle is real.
When you're buying a home and you're putting a big fat deposit at stake, you can't just figure it out.
You can't just figure it out.
You have to have a plan.
And look, Priya, let's be honest. A mortgage is one of the biggest obligations you ever take upon yourself.
That's right.
One of the biggest debts you take. You have to make the right decision. You can't just go blindly into it. Understand what you're getting into. It's very important. And I say this a lot. Every personal situation is different. Today I qualify, and I'm telling you, you can go up to a purchase price of $1 million. But that doesn't mean you should go to $1 million.
Yeah.
Your personal situation could be different. You could have kids in university that you need to help. You might have aged parents that need your help. Every personal situation is different. So I always say, don't always overexert yourself. And also look at your own personal finances. Don't just look for a yes in a mortgage. There's more than just a yes. Can you afford it?
Yeah.
That is your key question. Can I afford this home?
Yeah.
Can I afford my other obligations if I buy this home?
That's right. Yeah, because it's not a short-term commitment. You're carrying that mortgage for likely the next
Yeah.
25, 30 years.
And it's not something quick, okay, I bought it, I can go return it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or you know what, I'll keep it and I'll just walk out. You can. It's
You
not
can,
that
you can.
easy. So I always say, yes, the mortgage is one of the most important things, but beyond that, can I afford it?
Can I afford it? Of course.
Yeah.
So, what are your what type of clients you're working with these days? Is it the first-time home buyers only? Is it people who want to refinance?
Yeah. So
What are
I'll be honest with you, in particularly if you ask me this question today, given our current scenario in the market, there are lots of first-time home buyers who qualify, who are ready to buy, but given what we have with our neighboring countries, it's the wait and see game. What happens if the tariffs are imposed? I know we're on a pause at the moment. What happens? Will my job get affected? Because that's what people are most scared about. Right? So there are first-time home buyers. Yes, again, there are first-time home buyers on the other side who are looking for a deal because today there are people desperate to sell. They can either afford the commitment because they probably bought it during the peak of COVID, and they just want to get rid of their home. A lot of people, Priya, and I'm sure you can relate to this, they booked a lot of pre-constructions.
Yes.
And now those closings are all coming up today.
People who bought in 2020 or people who bought pre-construction in 2020, that's all coming up now,
Yeah.
whether it's the new construction closing or whether it's
So
the
they have no
refinancing.
choice but to sell. So again, buyers are looking for a bargain.
Yeah.
Sellers, on the other hand, don't want to let go, but some don't have a choice. So we do have first-time home buyers. Also, the other two categories that we have a lot today are refinances. Why? Why do we have so many refinances? Look, nothing to hide or shy about. People went through a lot during COVID, after COVID. People's debts are high, credit cards that have full capacity, line of credit. So there's debt consolidation.
Right.
So people are using that equity to debt consolidate and add it to their mortgage, so they just have one loan. And it's cheaper because look, any credit card today, typically you're paying 11-12%, some are at 18%, some are at 24% interest rate. So today's mortgage rates are less than 5%, for that matter close to even 4%. So when you debt consolidate, it streamlines your rate, it improves your cash flow, you're saving money, it brings up your credit score, everything's a plus. So we have the refinances. We also have refinances for clients who are very smart, Priya, who did not purchase during COVID when there was FOMO. My uncle's buying, my neighbor's buying, I have to buy. The smart ones did not buy. And now they're refinancing to remove equity to buy an investment property because they can pick a good deal.
Yeah, now they can buy a property for a much better price right
Yes.
now. And a much, I wouldn't say much better interest rate. But if
look,
we compare
even if we look
last,
at where we were and where we are today,
Yeah.
and really, Priya, if we talk about where do we anticipate our interest rates to go to and what will be our norm? Our norm will be what we had pre-COVID, in the high 2s, mid 3s. And I think we will get there in due time.
we're not too far from it.
We're not too far from it. And the last category we have today are renewals. If you think about it, COVID 2020, when the rates were in 1%, 1.5%, all those mortgages are coming up for renewal now.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of those clients. My advice to all clients who are renewing is, your first step is, if you don't need to remove any equity, you are happy, first understand what your own bank is offering you before you start shopping. Because people just shop because everybody's saying interest rate. But first, why would you go shopping around when you don't even know what you already have or what your current bank is going to offer you? Then we can play the comparison game.
So you want people to
So let's say
yeah.
I'm with TD today. My mortgage is coming up for renewal on July 30th. And I'm asking you, Priya, you're a mortgage broker. What is the best rate you can get me? Okay, sure, I can get you. But I want first you to ask your current bank what is the best rate they're offering you.
Would they give you that thing
Of
when you
course.
go ask them in the first go?
Yes,
Or
absolutely.
should you wait?
Remember, 90 days before you can start your negotiating process. And they go back to their bank. You have to negotiate. You can't just take what they're telling you. Negotiate with them. And let me give you an example. Let's say today TD is offering their existing client 3.9%. And I tell the client, listen, I can get you 3.8%. The difference is 0.1. Based on the size of the mortgage, does it make sense for you to move? Remember, you have to qualify again if we move you from one bank to another. There will be the cost of discharging your existing.
Yeah.
There will be the cost for your lawyers, your legal fee, to put the new charge for the new lender. You have to work out, will I make up that cost and still save money? Does it make sense for me to move? So I always say, yes, the lowest rate is what we want, but is it always the best thing? You've got to weigh your situation. So yeah, today I lose a client because I'm telling them, listen, stay with your existing client, but it's the right thing for you.
Yeah, and I'm seeing there is a lot of people calling me who say, okay, my mortgage is coming up for renewal.
Yeah.
What should I do?
This is exactly what you're going to tell them. Negotiate first and understand what your existing bank is giving you.
How soon would you ask them to get in touch with you? Is it 90 days prior or
Look,
6 months?
no, 6 months is too soon because look, we're in a market where rates are very fluid. If today we have a client whose renewal is coming up in October or November, I'm going to tell them stay put, you do nothing yet, it's too early to make that decision. But I would say 3 months prior, let's start having the conversation and understanding, are you just looking to renew, are you looking to refinance, what is your goal? If the goal is just to renew, then let's start by understanding what your bank is giving you. Let's see the calendar and see is there any Bank of Canada announcements coming up. So those are things we always have to keep in mind and guide the clients accordingly.
Right. Okay. So where do you actually work? Is it just Dufferin or?
No, I'm licensed to carry out mortgages in Ontario and in Alberta. Not to limit myself that I cannot do them in BC or any other areas. But yeah, my license is for Ontario and Alberta. I have an office in Mississauga. I know I'm based here in Dufferin. So again, I've serviced clients all the way in Ottawa, all the way in London, St. Thomas, Mississauga. It varies. In today's world, we're a very small world.
Yeah.
We are very small. Whether it's virtual, whether it's meeting in person, it all works. For that matter, Priya, I will be honest, I've not met 80% of my clients in person.
So what is your process? Let's say if a client calls you.
Yeah.
And either they need a new mortgage or they need to refinance or they need to renew their mortgage. What is the process? How does it go?
So typically a client calls, Amrita, I need your help. Okay, tell me what is it that you're looking for. This is what I'm looking for. Okay, I guide them. Oh, can I send you paper? I said, don't send me any papers yet. First, let's understand what you want. What is it that I can do for you? I always try and first understand the client situation and say, now, if you're a first-time home buyer, what I will say, send me your papers. Having said that, I want you to know no credit check or mortgage application will be done without your signed consent. The only reason for the paperwork is materializing what we've discussed is true. Remember, Priya, as a layman, as my client, he or she might analyze their income differently to how a bank analyzes the income.
Right, yeah.
Okay, I'll say I make around 120, 130. Does that include bonus? Does that not include bonus? Is it your base salary? What is that salary? It could be your gross income in your bank statements, but net you're only declaring 30. So I always say, okay, let me review your documents and give you a more firm answer. Then we move to the next step. And then there's some clients who say, Amrita, can we get on a Zoom call? Can we do a call virtually?
Yeah.
And then I have some clients who are more on the older generation who say, I'd like to meet you in person. But again, everything nowadays, soft signing, it's also easy. A lot of my business, I haven't met my clients in person.
So you just talk to them over the phone, maybe have a Zoom call.
Yeah, and then all signings done virtually because we don't need to meet clients for signing. Initially, pre-COVID, I met most of my clients. I still do make an effort to meet my clients, but a lot of times I don't because they're way too far out. One is in London, one is in Singapore. I don't. And believe me, a lot of clients are coming because they trust me. So that trust has already been built.
Right.
Because they heard it was a referral or they heard me on the radio or, it's because of consistency. And it's a lot of time the trust is already there.
How much of your business you would say is referral? Like, what is the ratio? Have you ever
Yeah, I'll be honest
worked it
with
out?
you. Yeah, 60 to 70% of my business is referral.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it is all referral. The other is all through, a lot of my business comes from a South Asian radio channel that I go on. And initially, I know when I started, I was like, I'm paying a lot, but nothing's coming. But what I have learned through my journey, Priya, is we plant our seeds.
Yeah.
Some will blossom today, some will blossom in 3 months, and some will blossom after a year or two. And now, because of the consistency of being on that radio channel, people recognizing my name, I can see all my seeds blossoming.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's good when people say, okay, I've heard you, or I've seen you talk, and then now I trust you more.
Yes.
And I know you are the expert and you can give me the right advice
Yeah.
for my situation.
And that's what I'm doing now for Dufferin, right? Like, I actively took part in the Home and Garden show.
Yeah.
And my goal is to do it every year.
Yeah.
Look, I'll be honest, today I might not see that traction. But I know if I'm in people's face and they can see me and I can service the clients, I service you, you're going to say, tell XYZ, and that's how we grow.
Yeah, and I know you are volunteering with Lions as well.
Yeah, I'm volunteering with the Lions Club. We absolutely do that, as my husband and I do it collectively. So it's something we both enjoy. We love giving back to the community, and it all comes back to how our upbringing was back in Kenya. My dad was an active Rotary member. So
Okay.
now we're here and we're doing Lions.
Great. So is there any other community activities that you do?
To be honest, in terms of community activity, no. But we do a lot of stuff with our kids and their school and all that. We do
Yeah.
do that. But in terms of community, I think with Lions, we're able to do, we get to see what happens at the food bank, how we're able to give at the food bank.
Yeah.
Just, a lot of other initiatives we're able to do through Lions.
Okay, so let's talk about what's happening now.
Okay.
So we are recording this in May 2025. What do you see happening in the later half of 2025 with whatever's happening with tariffs and interest rates? What is your prediction?
No, thank you so much for asking that. Now, if we talk about interest rates, this is a very, very big notion in the market that if the tariffs are imposed, inflation will go up. Absolutely right. There are chances of inflation going up. Today, this blanket costs us $20. Tomorrow it might cost us $35.
Yeah.
That is what inflation does. The cost of goods goes up. But why are people thinking that? Because during COVID and after COVID, what was happening? We had 2 homes and 10 buyers. Correct?
Yeah.
So there was inflation went up because of excessive demand and not enough supply. 2 homes, 10 buyers. You put a bid, I put a bid, it was blind bidding, and that's how prices went up. So because of that inflation going up, our interest rates went up so excessively, so aggressively. And people are scared that now, if cost of goods go up, inflation will go up, our interest rates will go up.
Yeah.
But this is my personal analogy. That inflation that was happening during COVID because of excessive demand is called demand pull inflation. It's caused by excessive demand. Now, to regulate that demand, interest rates had to go up. But today's inflation, if it does go up, will be cost push inflation, is driven by higher cost. And with higher cost, like we said, employment, jobs could be affected. Our economy will be a weaker economy because it's almost like going into a recession.
Yeah.
But rightfully, Bank of Canada, they cannot afford to increase inflation because already we're suffering. So my personal analogy again is rates will still carry on going down, but maybe at a slower rate than we were expecting at the beginning of 2025. So we are expecting rates to go down through the year, but again might be at a slower rate. Like we saw last month, Bank of Canada, the rates were paused.
Yeah.
We'd have no increase, no decrease. I can see that happening, but we might see a drop here and there. Okay, now if you ask me about what do I think will happen in real estate, it's spring. Buyers are out there, sellers are out there. Buyers are looking for a bargain, sellers need to sell, will sell. So I
Yeah.
think there will be an increase in the market where, there will be an increase, but it might not be anything excessive of what people are thinking. And my last personal view, if somebody's thinking, I bought my home during COVID, I bought my townhouse for $850, today it's worth $650.
Yeah.
Will I make up that money this year? Absolutely not. Will I make that money up next year? Absolutely not. Unless something happens that we cannot predict.
So, for somebody who bought their, let's say, townhouse for $1 million during COVID in those years, and now that same townhouse is $700,000, if they were to, let's say, the renewal is coming up, what should they do? Are they forced to sell, or
No, at renewal,
would they-
generally, there's no appraisal or anything. You just renew. You don't qualify, you don't do anything, you just renew with your lender.
they have to stay with the same lender?
Yeah,
though?
because tomorrow, let's say they want to move from one bank to another, and the bank says, hey, you owe more than the value of your home. I want to do an appraisal and see, do you have the shortfall to pay?
But would their payments go up?
I don't even think that's what they need to be worried about, because let's take an example. You bought a home for $1 million during COVID. You put 20% down.
Yeah.
Your loan amount was $800,000. Okay, 2-3 years down the line, maybe you owe about 760, 770. Today, like you said, that house is worth 700.
Yep.
They owe the bank more than the value of their home. Now, today you go to the next bank, the value is 700. The bank says, I'm going to give you 80% of the 700, which is 560. You owe 770. Do you have that 210 shortfall? So before you even think about moving, my suggestion to you, stay put where you are. Renew with your existing lender and carry on and hope the market will pick up in the years to come.
Thank you for giving that information. It was very insightful. So my last question to you is, for our listeners and
Yes.
for people who are watching, if they want to get in touch with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can. I'm on social media very actively. You can, find me on Google, and my number is 647-505-8643. Don't hesitate to call. I always say it's never an obligation. I'm always here to guide. You might just want advice, and there's no business transaction. That's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay. I'm here to guide you and give you some advice.
Of course, yeah. If you need to know what is your situation and what should you even do
Yeah.
in today's market,
I'm
yeah.
very happy to guide, and that is my, let's help our community. That is the goal. Let's help everybody. It's hard to see your loved ones or your close ones, or for that matter, anybody suffering. And I see that day in, day out, what people are going through with their finances. So I always say, you know what, you need advice, call me. No
Yeah,
problem.
and a lot of people have confusion. They don't know what to do.
Yes.
Everything's changed ever since they bought the house last time. Maybe it was COVID, and now the situation
And
is
honestly,
completely different.
Priya, you know what? When I look back to when we bought our first home, I don't even remember discussing interest rates.
Yeah.
I
It wasn't
never
a
remember
concern.
discussing interest rates. Even during pre-COVID, when I was servicing my clients never talked about interest rates. But today, all everybody talks about is interest rates.
It's because the media is spreading doom and gloom.
Yes.
And all that they hear on the news is interest rates.
Interest rates,
So-
interest rate. But that is not the only factor you should be considering. Yes, it is one of the most important, but not the only important factor. I have clients who will fight for 0.02 and go somewhere else. Again, lowest rates are not always the best rates. Understand the product. Yeah. So again, like I said, I'm happy to give any advice. If I can be of any help, I'd be happy to do that.
Great. Well, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you,
It was
Priya.
wonderful, and
I appreciate you letting me
yeah,
do this.
we really appreciate you.
Thank
Okay?
you.
Thank you.